let's go ahead. Welcome everybody. It's really great to meet, at least virtually. I hope you are in you are in a really good shape. As you know, we'll be talking about city development, which is my favorite subject. And a city is always a result of culture. And for ages, there was an opposition between culture and nature. Nowadays, the discussion goes in a different direction. We want to connect those two important areas, culture and nature. And there is a very strong tendency to, I would say, to introduce nature into city. And there is another tendency, the cities are growing and more population will be living in cities. Therefore, the more important is this green and blue tendency. And this is the subject for today. Before I would invite Professor Čedo Maksimovic, just two remarks. The first one is I will be staying with you approximately 1 hour because I will be having another conference after connected with the crisis today. And the second remark is there is still the request, please send me the essays I ask you for. And now I will welcome Professor Čedo Maksimovic from Imperial College in London, saying just 2 sentences. Both, I mean the institution, Imperial College, and the person, Professor Maksimovic, they are symbolizing the highest quality. Therefore, I am really proud, and I welcome you, Čedo, here. And let's go ahead. The stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Rafał. First of all, thank you to Irina and the other colleagues from this Democracy Studies Center in Kiev who have enabled me to give you this presentation. Whether it is highest quality or not, you will judge it by the end of this presentation and the end of our conversation. But we are doing our best, myself and my team and my international colleagues, to make it happen. Okay, so how many students do we have online?
More than 20, I guess, yeah?
And they are spread all over the place, or they are all in Kiev?
No, they are spread all over.
Okay, good. Are they some other people from other countries, or they're all from Ukraine?
Moldova and Belarus and Armenia.
Okay, excellent. Okay, welcome to all young ladies and gentlemen. And as I've been introduced, I'm a professor, emeritus professor at the Imperial College London. Although Imperial College, the name college is traditional historical name, but it is the university, separate university, and it is supposed to be the leading British engineering university. You have also Oxford, Cambridge, and others. Oxford and Cambridge and Imperial are kind of competitors, always competing who is the best in 1 year is Imperial, and then it's the Oxford, Cambridge, and so on. Anyway, I'm going to talk today about the what Rafał introduced, bringing together technology, culture, civilization, socio-economical issues under the same umbrella, because we are all facing the same problem. The same problem, as we see these days, it's the coronavirus, which has already killed, I don't know how many, 40, 50,000. But I can remind you that in 2007, when a heat wave hit France, in 3 days in Paris area, about 14,000 people were died. And in the broader area across France, central France, it's over 30, 40,000. I don't know exact number, but it is, one data says it's about 46,000 dead people just because of the heat, just to be, it went up to not high, 30, 32 degrees and stayed for 3 days. And that heat wave killed so many people, much more than Corona so far. Anyway, the first slide which you see is what we call city of the future. It's connecting blue element. I'm a civil engineer, I'm a water engineer, I'm dealing with the water engineering environment, and green, not only trees and the green vegetation, but also green philosophy, green economy, and green culture. So I will be talking today how we can make this happen. There is a lot of stories, there is a lot of talks about this. There are many countries are doing a lot, but most of it is a little bit sporadic. It's not systemic. We have had a big European project called Blue-Green Dream about the vision of the future. We have developed system, methodology, and I will present this methodology for planning of the future cities, not only new cities, but also old existing cities, historical centers, big companies, districts, and so on, can be retrofitted, can be redeveloped using this philosophy. Okay, so let me just see how this goes. Now, let me see if I can move this. I'm not sure if I can get rid of this one. Okay, so the philosophy is we are aiming at achieving much better, much healthier city for the people, not cities for the cars, and doing that in such a way that we rely on natural resources as much as possible. Natural resources meaning also solar energy, meaning also green vegetated areas, meaning also natural water resources, meaning in the air. Everything you find around your house is a resource, and it can be implemented in improving our urban environment, and I will show you how we do that. Just a brief note that for this technology, this methodology, we won in 2015 award called Business Green Technology Award, and 2 years ago we won also prize for Sustainable City Award for the developing innovative technology for treating wastewater in the new environmental friendly technology. I will show about this at the end of this presentation. So I will skip this content. Essentially, I will show you the introduction, why we need this, how we do that. I will give you some examples. I will also, by the end of my presentation, put some more emphasis on socio-economical, political aspects of this, which is probably closer to what you do. And then I will give you some links. You can contact me, but you can also go through your regular channels through your center. This is a well-known picture of our blue, nice-looking planet. And despite millions of other planets, comets, solar systems, Milky Ways, there is still not evidence that anywhere in the universe their conditions were so favorable to develop life and to develop this green vegetation, civilization, human being, animals, living creatures, and including our enemies, which is viruses and bacteria, some bacteria. So it took millions, 100 billions of years to the planet to develop, to go through all these geological formations. And then this part here is Holocene. It is last 10,000 years where modern civilization developed. People started agriculture, domesticating animals, and then it took only 200 years, last 200 years since Industrial Revolution, where really technology developed, but we also did a lot of damage to our planet and our environment. And this billions of years, which took this planet to develop, we have destroyed a lot of it during last 200 years. People often are not aware of that, but we know that we polluted atmosphere, we polluted water, we polluted soil, we killed many animals and species are disappearing. And as you see these days, we have endangered even the existence of the human civilization. So if you look at this graph, we are somewhere here about 2012. Here, this was picture about 10 years. At the moment we are using, as a planet, we are using about 50% more resources than planet can sustain. If the increase of population in China, India, Sub-Saharan Africa increases like this, in about 2040, 2050, we will need much more resources, much more ore, and food, and minerals, and energy, that we need 2 planets to support it. And we don't have 2, we have only 1. So we have to do something, even without all these environmental and climate changes problems, we'll do something basic, change our way of living, our consumption in such a way that we bring in balance, and we have about 30, 40 years to bring in balance, and then to develop way of living in cities, in economy, in our activities that we are in the balance with our planet can support. Otherwise, changes can be irreversible, and after that, the big question is whether it will be possible at all to change. So just a quick reminder of the Charles Darwin is the evolution, how the civilization planet developed. We were here maybe 10,000 years. We think we are here, we have a good standard, we have nice clothes, watches, television, internet, everything, but actually we are not here. Our very existence is endangered, not only by global warming and climate change, but also all of these problems that we are using too much resources. And through the blue-green philosophy, we think that we have a solution which is rather simple. We just have to live in accordance with the potential that climate offers us. The planet is offering us, and it's offering us a lot of local resources around our houses, around our cities, which we are not using properly. We are tapping on the fossil fuels, we are tapping other resources, and we are ignoring what we have around us. And we will show you how it works, how we can do it, and I'll give you some examples that it demonstrates that it is not a fantasy of some crazy scientist, but it is very simple and very much applicable. I'll give you some examples. So, why we need this, what we call blue-green solutions? I guess that from Irina, from your center, she can make available a copy of a brochure, which is about, I don't know, 40, 50 pages, simple brochure demonstrating what is behind this philosophy and how it works. So the problem, cities grow, and cities are being planned. There are planners, architects, urbanists, but they do not meet the modern challenges. There is a big mismatch. We have suboptimal efficiency of current planning methodology. It's not only in Europe, in America, it's all over places, in Japan, in China, in Africa, Australia, everywhere. Our cities, our planning methodologies are suboptimal. We do not have this balance. And this is a new need and new opportunities for improving sustainability, climate resilience, efficiency, and everything that we do must be cheaper than classical. That's what we have, this what we call blue-green systems approach, which I'm going to present to you today. This picture here shows on the left-hand side the problems which we have natural, like for example, we have too much water and we have floods. We have too little water, and then we have forest fires, what happened in Australia recently, and droughts, not enough water to support green spaces, parks are dying, forests are dying, and so forests are dying. So these are natural, but also we as people, We have done a lot of other water pollution, noise, air pollution. And then also urban heat island. I told you not less than 20 years ago in France, 40,000 people died in 3 days just because of this slightly higher temperature which they were not used to. And that is connected to many other socio-economical problems. Robbery, drug addict, alcoholism, homeless. We solve environmental problems. There are very good examples in the world. For example, city of Philadelphia, solving environmental problems, we are significantly reducing socio-economical problems. That is linked, it's strongly correlated, and I will show you how. And also we have problems with the energy efficiency and so on. So these are all people see as a problem. We don't see it as a problem, we see them as a huge opportunity to change our brains, to change our philosophy, to change our planning methodology, to change our economy planning, and create new opportunities. Every of these problems can be challenged. We can, traditionally, environmental problems are considered something that government has to put a lot of money and forget about that money to solve ecological problems. No, we think that this money has to come from many other sources, from the people who have money, from investment, and this we have to make these problems such that they are attractive for funding because they will create new opportunities, new businesses, new employment, new value, new better life and quality of life. And that is environmental economy, environmental engineering, environmental systems are the economy of the future. I've seen already in some countries, these environmental companies are becoming much more stronger, and they say in about 20, 30 years, all traditional economies like oil, gas, other types of energy will gradually be replaced, hopefully, by this new economy. And this is a simple approach how we can make it happen. So what we are tackling this problem? We are tackling flooding. This is a part of London which was supposed not to be flooded once in 10, 15 years. This part of the city is flooded every year, 2 times, 3 times. Water pollution, we have polluted our rivers. The rivers are sources of the outbreaks of this epidemic and pandemic, and then droughts. This is England and London when it had Olympic Games just a few weeks before the shortage of water. The air pollution, this is not Beijing, this is Paris. Then we have noise, heat island. I've mentioned to you that in France, how many people were killed by heat island, and that happens every year. Noise, and then we have also this problem of the socio-economical crime, which is much stronger in the parts of the city which is poor environment and where the people do not have a luxury of enjoying green spaces, and so that is something very important for you. Then we have the urban agriculture. Food is becoming, these days, many shops are empty, but that is only crisis. But it's not, it doesn't have to be crisis. Slowly, we will need more food, and we have to grow more food near the place where we live. You won't believe, but you can grow 30, 40% in a city, in your balcony, in your facade, in the roof, in the cellar, and so on. And that is something, urban agriculture. And then we need much more energy efficient systems. We are hoping that we will introduce renewable energy, wind, and so on. But at the same time, our technological systems are inefficient. They spend much more energy. So all this new renewable energy is being wasted. The biggest renewable energy, if we don't spend more energy than it. I will show you some examples on wastewater treatment plants and heating and cooling buildings and so on. So in the conclusion, we are, with this blue-green philosophy, we have developed, we will demonstrate to you how this philosophy works, and then people of the social background, sociologists, psychologists, economists, people working in media have very strong role, because without this group of people, we cannot implement it. You can have brilliant technology, but if it's not supported, it's not accepted, it doesn't work. So this is the current system. We have many experts working, and everybody claims they have the best technology, they have green, they have zero carbon, they have zero whatever, but all of them are doing a little bit separately, and there is no system. We have developed this blue-green philosophy where we introduce this technology in the very early phase of planning, anything, planning for economy, planning for cities, planning for new factories, planning for new hospitals. Everything can be done much, much better if it's done in the beginning, and if we bring all these people together and they agree on the environmental framework. After that, they can go back and do all their job. Architects, environmental, transportation people can do that, but within the agreed framework. And that is requiring change of our brains, our mental setup, our ways of doing. And that is, I'll give you in the later on an example of the treating wastewater. Traditionally, this is the city, and if you have bad weather and we collect our wastewater, traditionally, many cities still have direct disposal in rivers. Treatment with the classical technology requires a lot of energy. It's smelly, dirty. People put it outside of the city. There is much new, better technology, and I will show you in the end, which meets this blue-green. Okay. This is traditional house. It's house where we live, where we work. We bring a lot of potable water, energy, heating, cooling, food, and we consume it. And then we produce a lot of waste, like wastewater, solid waste, food waste, and also rainwater, and also new type of waste. In summer, we use air conditioners. Air conditioners blow hot air in the street, and they increase the problem of urban heat island. And that is another source of pollution. So this is horizontal flow of resources. We try to replace it as much as possible, vertical flow of resources. We can capture the rain when there is rain. We can capture it and flush our toilets, which means we need less water. If we grow some food on the roof, we can need less food and less transport of food. And if we tap on groundwater, I'll show you an example from Paris, and use it for heating and cooling a building. Immediately we reduce the waste, we recycle. We are already starting to implement this blue-green circular economy philosophy, and we are gradually converging to that, what we call cities of the future. So this is how it works. If we have the same house, if we harvest the water, if we use groundwater, if we capture the water after taking a shower, and we take that that energy which is in the wastewater, we return it back to our boiler, and so on. And we use our green spaces around the area for improving that, for the evaporative cooling, and so on. All these are local resources which we can implement, and this is the essence of our philosophy. For example, if we have not a green roof, but we call multifunctional roof garden and green facade, they are not just there to be nice. At the moment, people are building it, green roofs, just they think it looks nice, but it looks nice and they don't even go to see. This other way, we put the space on the roof where we can grow fish, we can have meetings, we can have nice area, people can have break if it's bunk and stay there, drink coffee. And there are an excellent example. You can have beehives produce honey. Honey produced in cities is even healthier than in the rural areas because it doesn't have pesticides, herbicides. Although cities are more polluted, but at least bees can collect, they don't collect. So unbelievably, honey produced in the cities by these bees who are, it's at least there is no pesticides and herbicides. And also trees are not trees, they have many other 30 other different functions. They can be used for heating, cooling, and other. So this is another example. We can grow food. And by growing food in Singapore, there are buildings which are already growing about 30% of the food they need. Cucumbers, beans, tomato, fish, everything in the building. And then we reduce the need for transporting food, we reduce the pollution and so on. Biodiversity is very important. By our technology, we are killing many insects, bees, animals, and so on. We have to bring this element of biodiversity in the city, make it more pleasant, but also make it much more healthier. At the moment, we've just received another European project, which is environment and health, and how we plan the cities to be healthy, and that we have partners from Poland. Okay, so if we put all these things together, problems and solutions, we have this what we call blue-green solutions. And the essence, we have a system which is not just a story. There is a methodology, models, financial instruments, legal instruments that has to be quantified, and that has to be cheaper, better quality and cheaper. If it is something more expensive, every foolish people can do it, but it's expensive. Nobody can afford it. We have to make it cheaper, and we will demonstrate that it is possible. Possible to do it with flooding, with air pollution, noise, transportation problem, and your part is socio-economical, bringing key people on board, people at the political level, at the decision makers, at the mayors, at the planners, and the factories, industry, and workers, and so on, and volunteers, and NGOs, and so on. So traditionally, planning in cities is done this way. We have water people, urban architects, energy, pollution, transportation. They do not cooperate sufficiently. They do cooperate when needed, but that is ad hoc, it's not well organized, and we get suboptimal systems, which is this red area. This red areas means that these systems are either more expensive or environmentally unfriendly or not sustainable on the long run. We replace this traditional planning system with the new one. We will introduce a system of collaborating between different disciplines, engineering, social, economical, cultural, and then there is a system how we bring them together. I can give you an example from old part of Lisbon. It's called Alfama, traditional place touristic attraction. We have done this, and it works. We bring all the elderly people, we bring the economists, we bring the cultural people, and it works. We have demonstrated it works. The essence is we are developing this. These pink arrows are interactions which bring to improve the social impact and environmental quality. And we don't deal with the transportation energy. We look how these systems interact, we optimize interactions, and it's amazing how in the end people are then realizing that it's possible, and all the disciplines, including social, economy, politicians, engineers, medical doctors, are surprised, and we are surprised how simple and how possible. And this is the essence of this problem. You mentioned the people from the countries who are participating. I have also lived for many years in Yugoslavia in the socialism system, and believed in these 5 years plans. I have now recently been working a lot with China, and they are still using these 5 years planning periods. And this is at the moment, last time it was 13th 5-year plan. And then I looked at the plans. They're much more modernized, evolved. If I look what their objectives, and we compare it with blue-green systems, it's amazing how much these planning priorities are very much compliant with what we use in this blue-green system. And as you can see, there's a lot of discussion in the world also whether central planning or market-oriented is better. But even in these traditional systems, they have modernized in such a way that the environment is being put on the high priority. By just as an example, mayor of Beijing was former Minister of Environment. He was our PhD doctoral student at Imperial, and he introduced a lot of emphasis on environment, improving the quality, and it works. This is another example. This is a building of the World Bank headquarters in Paris. Our team, our blue-green team, won a project. There was a competition, tender, to modernize, to redevelop this building. And we got that project. We have done improvement of the heating, cooling, ventilation, green spaces, facades, and so on. And that building now is saving every month 60% of the money for heating, cooling, energy, and so on, using very simple. We are using groundwater below the building, pumping it, cooling in summer, and in winter we are pumping back using heat pump heating, and then by improving the insulation, facade, and so on. These people in the World Bank, they could not believe that it's such a simple solution, cheap, and after that our team got 4 projects without any tendering. You know, this World Bank is very strict. They have to go through this procurement, public procurement procedure, but they, when we said, how on earth you can give us this, keep quiet, just do the work. It was such a better solution than anything I have seen. World Bank, and they simply give us 3 more contracts without any tendering. Just say, this is the contract, do it. Do the same method. And we've done it in several countries, improve their headquarters. The philosophy is that you can, and I see my screen, this is traditional cities, streets without tree, without vegetation. There were rivers before in cities. London has about 130 former rivers which are buried, closed, converted in streets, environmental friendly. And this is now modern tendency to open up, to say daylight these hidden sources and create much better environmental system. This is a bit expensive solution, but it is workable, and that may happen in many cities. In America, they have done already 130 rivers redevelopment. And in Seoul, in South Korea, that Cheonggaechong project was so popular. Rafal made now the former mayor of Seoul who made this project in Cheonggaechong became so popular that he was elected to be president of South Korea after that project. Okay, so this is just an example of this. So I'll give you a few more examples how this technology can be implemented. As I said, it can be implemented in cities, whole city, it can be district, but also some particular systems like technology parks, university campuses, hospitals. A few years back, I was told that we will be working with the big hospital in Warsaw, but it didn't happen. I don't know what. So I'll give you some examples from the university campus in Zagreb, how we planned it at the Imperial College, at the ENPC, École Nationale de Pont de Chaussée in Paris, and in some Chinese cases. Just a few examples. University campuses, when they are retrofitted or newly designed, they can be done in such a way that they are blue, green, efficient, but also used as an open-air laboratory. So this is an example from Zagreb, city in Croatia. They are planning to move these university buildings, which are now spread all over the city, into a former military airport. And we have done the planning for them together with the local architects to see these corridors. Strong winter winds come from this side. We protect facades by certain type of vegetation. In summer, there is a lot of hot weather. We protect facades by these brown sets of vegetation, so they don't lose less energy for cooling. And we provide the wind corridors and using groundwater, energy saving. In the end, this campus has much pleasant environment, much cooler temperature in summer, using much less energy. And in the end, they save also, if they implement this completely, this is still in the planning phase. If they implement it, they will save 60, 70%. I will show that slide later. Heating, cooling, ventilation, and so on. This is Imperial College. This is where I work. As you see, it's not very big. This is the whole campus. In central location, there are museums here, and Royal Albert Hall and Hyde Park. And we have done some experiments on the roof of this Students' Hall of Residence. By the way, this is my civil engineering building. This is my window. If you come to London, you can visit me near this tower. So, university campuses themselves can be the places where we can implement this. but not just implement that it serves for the services, but also serves as an exemplar, as a research facility to show how it works, and then it can be modernized in the future. This is the green roof. It's not just green roof, it's the multifunctional roof garden. These are my doctoral students. One is an architect, one is an environmental scientist. This girl is now, she finished PhD, she works in Beijing in Chinese Academy of Urban Planning. This guy has also finished his PhD and he's working in Bosnia as an architect. One element, just small piece of roof can be done. It not only just looks nice, but it also absorbs water, improves air quality, reduces flood risk, looks nicer, saves the energy for heating, cooling, and so on. But it requires a lot of research. We have done it. We can develop this methodology. This is another example from Paris. ENPC, and École Nationale de Chaussée, is the biggest or the most strongest university in civil engineering. This is planned to be the green roof, but in the process we redesigned it. The architects and also redesigned it. Is open air research facility with a lot of instrumentation and rainfall, runoff, and radar and rainfall prediction, and water balance, energy balance are being studied. There are 4 or 5 doctoral theses are already done. One of them is just was supposed to be defended last week, but it is cancelled because of the corona. But it is an example. You should do it not as a classical, but if you just change a little, you can get much more additional benefits. Now, another example of implementation of this blue-green philosophy is the wastewater treatment plant. If you have, I know that in Poland, for example, I visited some places, there are some very good wastewater treatment plants. In Łódź, for example, and somewhere else. But they are good, but they occupy too much land. They are very much expensive to run, a lot of energy. And this technology, which we are working together with some other partners from Hungary, from America, from China, from Serbia, it's much smaller. It uses some green vegetation and some artificial roots. And as you can see here, this is cost of capital cost, construction, operational cost, energy, land. These are traditional technologies, and this technology which requires much less costs, less to construct, much less to operate, much less waste sludge, much less energy, in much less land. This land could be critical, and I can show you an example from the city of Alkmaar in Holland. They have existing treatment plant. It is here. It occupies 3 hectares. It's very good. It functions. It doesn't smell. But it occupies 3 hectares. 3 hectares of land costs a lot of money in the city. Our team, our consortium is developing for them, and they have already decided this innovative technology, which is just 200 meters away, which occupies only 6% of that land. But it's not only land, but it's also cheaper to operate. And it's just for that reason, they have decided to knock this one and replace by this one. We have similar examples now in China and somewhere else. This is an example from Japan. This is traditional wastewater treatment plant. Our partners, our consortium members have done the analysis, 3 options. This is everything is done in 1 floor, 2 floors, 3 floors. And this solution occupies only 6%, which this guy, a private person, he bought from the city, treatment plant. He will knock it down, replaced by this one, and he gets all this land free. When he pays all the costs, he can make profit of $22 million. But he will not do it. He will use this land and develop hospitals, hotels, banks, residential areas, and make much bigger profit. So this is an example how this new technology could be very attractive financially, in addition to being much cheaper, this is what this wastewater treatment plant occupies. It occupies, as you see, only 6% of this land, and it is economically profitable. And this is just an example. We are now working with a lot of partners from China, from other countries. Socioeconomical aspects, I'm switching to this bit because my understanding is your group of students, your professionals have this, some of you have this background, and we, as I said in the beginning, we cannot implement this technology only by good engineers and planners. We have to involve the, first of all, political system, ministries of environment and cities, to change the legal framework to enable this technology. For example, in some countries, even in Germany, say this is good technology, but our law does not permit using treated wastewater. Good. What does it mean? We have to change the law, rather just keep on going, and so on. And that aspect of involving all the other professionals, including economists, social, political science. This is an example just from UK. There are many barriers to implement this blue-green infrastructure. I will not go through details because it requires much more time, but there is a system how we can change, motivate the lawmakers, the people at the governmental level, district level, provincial level, city level, to create conditions for higher uptake, for more improvement. And there are technologies, there are financial instruments, but it has to be joint work of all together. For example, in England, there are a lot of funding mechanisms. This is the Department for Forestry and Rural Affairs and so on. They have some money, Environment Agency have money. So they are still working separately. There is no coordinated. So what we are doing, we are trying to motivate the government organization, ministries to work together. Often one ministry does its job and doesn't even talk to the others. There has to be cross-disciplinary approach. And we will not go through this slide, of course, but it just gives, it is a complex structure. And if everybody of these people does the work with the grid framework, we can get much better. So we will skip to this slide because it is very detailed. Even this one, how we can use conceptual modeling for improving this blue-green infrastructure, how we can tweak, how we can change, modify different parts of the process, and then come up with the grid framework, grid philosophy, how this can be implemented. Now, this is very important for you. This is an example how the anyway, this is what we call goal-driven planning matrix. This planning has system, has matrices, has models, project management, the planning teams, and then we first set the targets, what we want to achieve, and then what functions and concepts we implement. And this is very important phase when we have to include all local people, not just inform them what is going on. We involve them, they have a say, they come up with the ideas, they propose some solutions and so on. And in the end, when it is agreed, these people are much more motivated for this system to work. Otherwise, if you just, it's an excellent example, but local people don't accept it and the whole system maybe not collapse, but it doesn't function. So in the end, we get some optimal solutions. So this is a diagram, but all these boxes have certain models, procedures, quantifying, financial assessment, quality assessment, and so on, and it works. Now, this is a very important slide. This is summary of all these planning methodologies. And this one is the goal-driven planning matrix. This is what I show you here. This is the umbrella matrix, which brings together. But you will see other matrices. I will just give them the names. You see there's a lot of socio-economical aspects. So a matrix of interactions between components, energy, transportation, green spaces, health. We have to look at all these interactions. Capital costs. We have to make sure that our system is cheaper. It will be cheaper if we include all these, what we call whole life costs, Gender matrix. This is very important. People are laughing at us. Why are you interested in this men, women, but it's only men, women, it's also other aspects like using the social vulnerable groups, using underprivileged groups, using entire population, how we do our plans that these people have benefits. For example, we had a project proposal a few years back. We did not succeed, but people from Warsaw, from Institute of Social Studies, they proposed one part of the city which is very close to this theater, but it is a former industrial area where there's a lot of people with low income and not good environment, how to implement it here. Unfortunately, we didn't succeed in that project, but we'll possibly get resilience to weather extremes. We have to make our cities much more resilient to whatever may happen in the future. Great Island, Wales, cold fronts, floods, droughts, and so on. Our cities have to be resilient. And we have shown you in some examples that it can be done by local resources. Blend in. We don't just build a new district in a part of the city and then annoy all other neighboring, because the other former residents in that area, when something new is developed, if they are not consulted, if they are not protected, these new developments could be nice and fashionable and fancy for the people who live there, but neighbors around that area are very much disadvantaged, are deprived. Their living conditions are much worse with this. So we have to make sure that new development blends nicely into surrounding area and that it does not create negative impact to the neighbors. And then finally, business activation. All these projects have to be attractive for the people with money, that they are motivated to invest in this project. And then as a final result, we get the planning framework, which then is transferred to the professionals, and they can do traditional planning with architects, planners, but they have to work within the agreed framework. And this is a set of matrices. These matrices include software packages, include optimization, include the financial evaluation, and so on, and they have to be implemented. But as you can see, a lot of the social economical aspects are included here. This is another slide which shows that how we must work with all the important players, policy makers and lawmakers. We have to engage ministries and governmental officials who are creating laws. Often they are not aware of this technology and they are making laws in traditional fashion. If we bring this technology and people understand, and the strategic planning and developers and consultants and other users, they are all interested. They have the interest, and then we have to create the enabling environment at this level. Then at the system level, we try to improve, to maximize performance. We have to higher level of sustainability. We have much more efficient system. You have seen that World Bank building is now very much efficient. World Bank is very much surprised by the positive impacts. And then reduction of the cost, of the life cycle cost is important. It is the system level. At the project level, at each project, we have to bring interested residents. We have to reduce the resource usage. Profitability has to be improved. Corporate prestige, if we have big industrial companies, they should be motivated, because it's not just they get a good reputation. It helps them to reduce their costs and become more productive. And then they become even marketed. Those companies which accept this philosophy, in 5-10 years, they will be market leaders. Others will die. Simply, many companies will vanish because they will not be able to follow, to be competitive with the others who have cheaper, lower cost production, better environment. And then users, we have to use the collaborate with the other people who are interested in having lower cost. Concerning also the socio-economical aspect, we have to involve non-governmental organizations. This is an example from Belgrade. This is there is an NGO called Mixer. Here And they, every year, they organize mixer festivals with a lot of cultural events, theater, ballet, film festival, music performed in the streets. And they also engage me and my colleague. We have also courses, workshops for the young planners and young architects. And this is in a very dilapidated, you see, part of the city. Some of our students who attended our course, they have now started running small businesses, companies. One of them has already 40 young architects, and they're very competent. They're getting a lot of projects from Singapore, from Emirates, because they have completely new philosophy of planning. These NGOs, where you engage young people, and this is an example. This is the movement. They have a counter. They have a network with the people in Berlin, in Paris, in Madrid, Hamburg, Lausanne, Tirana, Stockholm. So they're creating their own network. Young people with similar motivations, and they push district authorities, city authorities, ministries to adopt this new way of thinking and create this kind of blue-green economy. And in the end, as I mentioned, I'm working a lot with China. China is much faster to accept the new technologies. This is a meeting at the BIG. This is Beijing Investment Group. This is a city of Beijing institution which is managing all the capital costs. They have managed the Olympic Games, and they are working with the old infrastructure transportation. And they have asked us, they involved our team, and this is me with their directors and planners, into planning for the future retrofitting of Beijing. Beijing is building a new city, Hangzhou, where they will move city administration, mayor, and all the city ministries will go to that. And they are building other new city, Shunan, where they will move the central government and president and ministries and so on. This Shunan has not yet started, but this Hangzhou has started, and we already have some training their planners to implement this methodology. And this is another example where they together were motivated, and they asked us to involve them in some European project. This is new project initiative, you see this sign, where they have brought the Chinese environmental planning institutes and city planners and the environmental planners together, and they are interested in being part of this European system. These are just few books, publications. This is one of the most recent publications, Rethinking Infrastructure to Multifunctional Use, and this is an older one. I published with UNESCO, Integrated Urban Water Management, maybe 15 years ago. Then it was translated in Japanese, in Chinese. This is Chinese translation. By the way, this person here was my our doctoral student. Now he became professor at Tsinghua-based University, rector, became Minister of Environment. Now he's mayor of Beijing. He is pushing very much this innovative planning to be implemented. So, before closing, I say together we can make it. I have not seen your faces. I don't know your background. I will ask Irina to give me your details. But this lecture is just to give you a kind of brief introduction to this system. This is a system for the future. We can have interactive discussion. I guess we have some 20 minutes, 30 minutes. You can analyze possible ideas, cases that you can bring your members. We can think of possible collaboration and some possible projects and extension of long-term collaboration. I guess that Mr. Dutkiewicz and Mr. Chenko and Irina are also welcome to think of how we can best bring together our brains and think differently. If you think in classical way, that doesn't work. New generation, your generation has to adopt it and make it happen. Older people, they're much less eager to change because they work for 20, 30 years, old-fashioned. We have big companies in the world, biggest consultants. They don't want to change. They say, why should we bother with this new technology? when the existing technology brings us a lot of projects, a lot of money. Let's see in 10 years. In 10 years, it will be too late. There has to be next generation who adopts this, like the people which I show you, like these people who are now young people who are attending these cultural events, festivals, this mixer festival. Unfortunately, this year will probably be cancelled because of Corona. It was supposed to be in May. But these people who are performing ballet, theater, cultural events, musical festival, film, literature, they are also very much being exposed to these innovative environmental issues and then using this young data and so on. This is a type of impact they are having. Now, I'm also, in addition to being university professor, I'm also having my small consultancy. It's called Blue Green Global, and I also have collaboration with a lot of, it is not big, it's just few people, but we are relying on the local people in other countries, in Far East. We have already cooperation with China, with Malaysia, with South Korea, Singapore, and also with America, with Canada, with even in Africa, I have with Uganda, Dr. Students who is doing that. So we are practically just helping them to develop their own national strategies and their own national philosophy. This is my last slide with my contact details. This is my email address. I have created an international journal. It's called Urban Water Journal. This is the cover page. It is already working for 50 years. It works. I have started a book series. You've seen some of them. Here they are translated in different languages. This is last project called Blue Green Dream. Dream is not just you have a dream, you wake up and it's gone. This is a vision for our cities for the next 20, 30, 50, 200 years. And we also have one project called Red Green. It's about the urban flooding, predicting urban flooding. This is the radar in and that is how I work. As I said, I'm not eager to, I cannot do myself a lot. I have to rely on people like yourselves, like Mr. Dutkiewicz, on people like you, who then come up with the idea, and then we see how these ideas can be shaped, how we can get assistance from this person. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Professor Maksimovic.
Really great.
Yeah, it was great. Now I suggest a question and answers session. Is anybody eager to
just wanted.
Somebody wanted to say something.
I just wanted to say I have to switch now for a crisis conference. Čedo, that was great. Really appreciate. And let us stay in touch.
Excellent. Thank you very much. It will be my pleasure.
My name is Natalia.
Can you speak a little louder or come closer to the microphone?
Yes, I will try. Is it better now?
Not much. I can hardly hear you.
No?
Let me see just a moment. Let me try it now. Can you try it now?
Can you hear me?
A little. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so the question is it...
Your name is just... Can I hear your name?
Natalia. My name is Natalia Malokholovko, my surname. And
Natalia Malokholovko, okay? Okay, go ahead, Natalia.
Yes, thank you. And actually, first, when you started to present...
Can you just also change your camera? I see only your hair. Okay, I see your face.
Like this. Yes, I'm trying to speak closer to my microphone, so...
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, when you started to present the technology, it looks really great, but I was trying to think about Kyiv, and I know that it's being highly built up, and the buildings are very close one to each other, and maybe I'm not such a good expert in this, but to my mind, it's mostly impossible to remake it. And it seems that this technology should be used when the buildings are in project, when they are just being designed, and then it can be built. Or maybe you can advise something, because it seems that Kyiv is highly built up and with no possibility to remake it in accordance to this technology.
You are right. It is difficult to deal with this already built, high-rise, densely packed, no green space between. This is difficult case, but even there, it is not impossible. We have just now a new project, and we have partners from Bulgaria, from Sofia, and they introduced such an area, residential area done in the old socialist period, high-rise building, no green space, and even there we will try to do something. But this technology, this methodology of planning can be implemented, you are right, in the new planning from scratch, but it also can be used in retrofitting the existing ones. These ones which you mentioned are difficult, but there are also other parts which are not that difficult. There are a lot of industrial parks, for example, in Łódź, in Poland, industrial areas. The even old part of Lisbon called Alfama, which is old traditional part with the narrow streets, with the low-income people. We have done the project there, how to preserve its cultural value, its cultural heritage, keep the native old people there because they have not much money. So young, aggressive people come there, buy their property, open cafe and a hotel and beauty hotel, and these people are pushed out. Even in that area, it's possible. So the short answer, yes, what you say, it is not easy, but it is not impossible. We can do both planning for new cities and retrofitting the old ones.
Yeah, and thank you. And one more comment. So, for example, exactly in Kyiv, in those new buildings that are many apartment buildings, the roofs sometimes they are being partially sold to the owners of the apartments. So, in order like to have like a private place on a roof or something. So we really need to change our mindset to start implementing this kind of technology. Otherwise,
this technology is especially applicable to the flat roofs which have kind of terrace. If you take an air photograph of Kiev or any other city, in London it's about 30–40% of the roofs could be retrofitted for this multifunctional roof gardens, and they can have, if you do it properly, the square meter of that roof is much more valuable than square meter of a flat below that. You've seen in some examples when they agreed, the residents made a communal garden and they share it, and if they want to sell it, they can get more money for square meter of that roof than for square meter of the flat below.
Yeah, exactly. Because currently most of the roofs are, like some of them are private ones, especially in the new houses in new buildings.
Even private people can do it on their own. We have a small company in the city of Novi Sad in Serbia, which is specializing in their working design for the private houses, private owners, retrofitting the roofs, but also introducing this innovative heating and cooling and so on.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Natalia. Let's go to someone else. For example, you can see my green balcony. When I bought this flat, it is a small flat, but I bought it because it has nice green area. For this money, I could buy a big house outside London and two garages and so on. But I didn't want. I want to live much smaller place in a green area. And these days, it's very valuable that you have your own small green area around your around these houses. It's not, there are a lot of flats here, but they are in a nice green area. Okay.
Sorry, it's me again. Yeah, you know, in our country, in post-Soviet, maybe it goes to all post-Soviet Union countries. So it was very popular to have such plants in-house, inside of the flats. And now it's also very popular to make green balconies like you have.
Yep. Yes, that has a few
tendency.
Bringing vegetation inside, indoor. Some people think it can improve the oxygen balance and so on. That is maybe not that big impact, but the biggest impact is when you live in the green environment, you feel much better. Your psychological and mental health is much more, you are a much happier person. If you are sick and you have through your window looking green, you are much faster healing. And if you have an opportunity to go for a walk, you will probably go the better where there's a green area and water rather than it's just green area. So water element is also looking the noise of water, looking small waves, and so on. Just looking at the water and looking at the green space is helping your mental health. Yeah.
Sorry, is there any scientific research that really proves that like being in the green area it makes person like happier, healthier or something?
Of course. This started about 160 or 130 years ago, I don't remember, by a study of a doctor in Germany. At that time it was Prussia, I think, Prussia. And then he published first research. He did a lot of study about his patients. If they stay in the hospital in a room which has a view through the green area, another person with similar health conditions just in a room looking at the gray wall, the person in that room with the green space healed much faster. He could go home 1 week earlier than the other one with the same treatment, same technology. And that paper that I think has then initiated, there's hundreds and hundreds of people, of medical people, demonstrating, documenting the positive impact of green spaces, not only on the mental health, on happiness, on well-being, but also physical health. Respiratory illnesses, cardiovascular, and many other illnesses are. This is just an element. Don't say that you go to walk for a green area and you get healthy. No, it is contribution with other positive impacts.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Natalia. Can we have someone else, some other questions?
Anyone else would like to ask something?
Well, actually, I saw in our common chat, sorry, I saw in our common chat there were some questions from other guys. For example, there was a question on how expensive is this system of planning in comparison to ordinary one and how to make it cheaper.
Traditionally, there is a belief that green projects are much more expensive. That is completely wrong. Depends what you take as a cost. You can have, maybe some of them are more expensive to build, but it is just one cost. You have to take into account what we call whole life cost. How much it costs later to do heating of the building, cooling, how much it costs of protecting against flooding, and also maintenance and so on. If you take into account all of these costs, in many cases, it proves that this whole life cycle cost, LCC, for example, in this treatment plant which I showed you, is much, much lower. But depends on the architect and planners. You can always make an expensive solution. That's easy. Every fool guy can do it. But intelligent guys, they make it nicer, cheaper, cleaner, greener, and cheaper, lower cost. But cost, you have to take all costs, not just construction. Construction cost may be a little bit more expensive, but if you plan it in good time, in a very early phase, it is much cheaper, or at least not much more expensive, much better.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one question. Hello? Hello?
Yes, yes, yes.
So I have a question. Professor Maksimovic, what do you think would be impact of our coronavirus crisis on our conscious about green technologies, about overproduction, about GDP growth? So probably, it will be some changes, and especially, we should switch to some green solution, and now we are mostly blocked at our homes. And of course, we need some fresh air, some green plants. So what do you think the changes are coming? What kind of
Can I
change?
just have your name, because can I have your name?
Hello?
I hear your name.
My name is Irina.
Yes.
I'm Irina.
You are Irina.
Yeah.
Nice to see you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought it was somebody from the students. Okay. Interesting question. This coronavirus is disastrous. It's horrible what happens all over the countries. People are not aware. Just 2-3 weeks ago, many leaders and politicians said, no, don't worry, it happens only to the Far East countries, China, nothing. But you see both England and France and Italy and all these other countries, and America. America is still facing much worse situation than now. They are now seeing there is no joke. This is serious. And one of the politicians was very surprised. Oh, this is not discriminate. They thought in the beginning this is nasty, but it will hit only vulnerable people, like poor, like old, elderly, like sick people. No, it doesn't discriminate. It hits, as you can see, prime ministers and so on. So this is a unique chance to think of the way we run our economy, we plan for everything. And then there are already some publications which are suggesting that this opportunity should not be missed. And politicians are very eager to go quickly to return to the normal economical production, so on. Returning to business as usual is probably necessary to reduce the unemployment. But if this opportunity is used to rethink the concepts, there is a paper just published 3 days ago when we should use this kind of, they call Green Deal as a global world movement, to use this to reduce the environmental impact, to improve the sustainability, to reduce cost. And this is practically what if you read what they propose, is practically our blue green system. So your question is very timely, very interesting. If we follow the logic of improving things systematically in the long run, then the corona could have some positive impacts. Otherwise, it will have only negative impacts. If people just go back quickly, use the same amount of the air pollution, civil aviation will not change. They will continue with the increase of passengers and increase of the air pollution, and so on. I would suggest, if possible, and we will join in this Green Deal initiative and try to motivate governments to use this opportunity to start thinking, because another disaster like this could be even much more disastrous.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I would like to have more questions from students. You said you have them written in your chat box. If the students cannot switch the camera, maybe somebody can read the questions.
Well, actually, I published there 2 of my questions, and you already answered them. Thank you. And there was another question from my colleague about the price of this technology. So there is, you also gave the answer, and the rest was the discussion.
Okay.
For example, one of the comments, it is maybe now expensive, but in future it can save money. Now we need to create city hour according to BGS, but after we collect some advantages. So
Yeah, but the advantages are, as soon as you start implementing, you get some advantages immediately. Some are long term.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Any other questions? Can I ask Irina? Irina, do you have any other students who want to ask questions?
Guys, do you have any questions?
Sorry?
I would like to ask a question.
Yes.
Hello, my name is Irina as well. I'm from Ukraine, and I have a question
Irina,
about...
what was your surname? Sorry, I didn't hear your name.
Surname is Sharameta. I'm from Ukraine.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm interested which who ordered these systems. I mean, this green blue dream systems. So are there only companies which you mentioned, like the university or World Bank, or there are some private houses, so people living there and they want to make this like sustainable, the system, the house.
There are lots of hundreds and millions examples of systems which have some elements of this, but there are no many which have this integrated concept from the scratch, from planning and so on. But you, of course, you have a lot of, for example, it was really popular maybe 15 years ago to have a green roof. So many banks and companies in London, about 150 roofs have been converted to green roofs. But it was done without a long-term strategy. These green roofs usually are built and nobody goes there. They say it's not safe to climb the stairs. And then 2 years ago, I was in a high-rise building. There was a meeting and looked in summer at these green roofs. Many of them, the vegetation has died, it's dead, and it is dangerous for could catch fire. So if you do it just as a fashion and just one criteria, then I would rather say no, but better don't do it. But if you do it systematically, looking at the multifunctional systems, several functions, for example, as I mentioned, green roof, I'm not in favor of green roof, I'm in favor of a roof garden, where people can go there, spend their time. Even they can be flexible, some kind of cover, they can be used even if it's raining, even in winter, could be kind of a nice space in winter with cover. When it's nice weather, you remove the cover, you have an open air. If it's residential area, you can create a playground for children. Children are much safer to play there than going in the public park. You can have a small fish pond. In Lucerne, in Switzerland, there is a building which has, I don't know, 40 flats, and they have their own fish pond on the roof. And everybody can get, every flat can get a fish a day, which is at the cost of 20% what they would pay in the supermarket. And then I've seen brilliant examples in China where the the companies have organized in their roof very nice space where the people, instead of going to smoke outside, they go up and they have coffee, they have enjoying beautiful view and nice environment. And they plant some herbs with the smell, like lavender, and they have a very nice smell there, beautiful arrangement with benches, with chairs, they can have a drink, a chat and so on, and they recover energy after spending half an hour break there. So there are examples, but there are also some bad examples or not complete examples because people have not thought about the multifunctionality.
Thank you for the answer. And I have one more. I just recollected the library in Warsaw. So it could be like an example of such a system, isn't it?
Yeah,
like this huge, beautiful library with the green roof and the garden.
I don't know that particular library, but I will also ask. I know that there was 3 years ago, there was a project for the big hospital. That's the biggest hospital in Poland. And they asked me, can we work together to implement? Yes, I agreed, but they never followed it up. So I don't know what happened.
Thank you a lot for the presentation, for the answer.
Thank you, Irina.
Sorry, you talked about the pond on the roof, and does it take some cost to support that pond? For example, to clean it?
Of course, there is a cost. You have to have somebody to look at the water supply. There is an air pumping. There you have to clean it occasionally, but this cost is included in the cost of the fish. So if you want to buy fish, if you live in that building and you want to buy fish, this selling of this fish is covering the costs. But cost of buying a fish, as I said, it's about 20% only of what you would have to pay for this fish in supermarket. Yes, there is cost, but these guys who are taking care of the fish pond, they are also doing something else. You already have people in the building who are doing some cleaning, who are doing a rubbish collection, who are doing some painting, and additionally they have some other tasks. That cost is then lower. Yes, of course, there is nothing is for free. But you want to do the analysis, whole life cost, and make sure that this cost is lower than conventional.
Thank you.
Okay. Irina, are there any other questions, or we can draw a close?
Yeah. Thank you very much, Professor Maksimovic, and for your presentation, for your answers, for your new approach to the solutions. And I think we will be in touch, and our scholars, when they have some questions, I think they will, because on the project, and one group is working on solar panels on the roofs of our kids center. So it will be probably some alternative solutions for that.
Okay. Solar panels in the roof are, they have better efficiency if they are combined with some vegetation, because vegetation provides better cooling of the lower part of panels, and then you have the 7 to 8 to 10% higher power, more energy, if these solar panels on the roof are surrounded by green vegetation.
Unfortunately, we don't have flat roofs in our kits, so
okay. Then
to rebuild.
Conventional system. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Irina, if you have a list of your students who attended, you can send me the list, and if they have with the email addresses, and if they have any questions, they can give it to you. You can forward to me, or they can ask me directly.
Thank you very much. Great.
And as I said, if they want to have that copy of that Blue-Green Solutions, but you can distribute it. It's in electronic form. You have it.
Great. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you and goodbye.
Goodbye.